Hello and welcome to the Valley. Today I am your host, Janet Michael. Today's show is going to use the S word, and it's not the S word that you can't say on the radio because we say it on the radio all the time. But I am going to chat today with Ken Slack. You may remember Ken is the communication specialist for VDOT. And Ken, this is our snow show.
Yes, indeed. I won't even say it out loud, but the S word is a four-letter word to pretty much anybody who works for VDOT. It sort of strips all the joy that you had when you were a kid, because snow days for us are long days.
They are not what the rest of us look forward
No,
to.
you get to peek out the window and go, I think I'm just going to stay home today. And that's actually what we want people to do, but we'll probably talk about that later.
So we are sitting here end of November. We're actually recording before Thanksgiving is even here, but people are listening on the first day actually of December. How far in advance do you guys start planning for winter weather?
This probably is going to sound like a company line, but it really is a year-round type of preparation that we do. Virginia and all of the states in the Mid-Atlantic region, a lot of them get their salt from some of the same sources, and we're stockpiling our salt and other chemicals that we use on the roadways pretty much year-round. We really start getting serious in the early summertime, June, July. We are putting the feelers out there for this winter's round of contracts and hired equipment operators because VDOT cannot possibly tackle winter by ourselves. We just don't have enough people on payroll. So when we get decent sized storms, we bring in a lot of contractors and plow operators. And it's actually works out nicely for them because wintertime is slow. If you're a contractor, whether you're in the road building business or sometimes paving operators and things like that, a lot of them actually work for VDOT in the wintertime doing snow removal operations. So it takes a few months for us to get all of them signed up, get all the contracts taken care of, make sure everybody has the right equipment lined up and that sort of thing. And then in the early fall, we start what we call our dry runs, which it's not a practice. We go through all of our pieces of equipment, the plows, the spreaders, the dump trucks, the motor graders, even a couple of snow blowers that we have, and we give them very detailed inspections. And we do it so that there is time to take care of any niggling issues. And it could be something as simple as what sounds simple, but certainly a safety concern is if not all of the flashing lights are operating the way they're supposed to. It does get to that level of detail to make sure that when our operators are out there actually pushing snow or putting the salt out there, that they can rely on that equipment. And if there's anything that needs to be taken care of before winter, we've got time to do it. Of course, it's not just about equipment, it's about people, especially folks that we have come on as contractors or new VDOT employees for whom this would be their first winter. We'll pair them up with an experienced operator and go through their route together so that they're familiar with where they're going to be plowing. They know where all of the cul-de-sacs and driveways and all of the mailboxes and things like that are potential hazards when you're out there, especially in the dead of night during a snowstorm trying to keep the roads clear.
Do you have mechanics on staff that work on these trucks and these pieces of equipment, or do you farm that out? Do you contract that out?
We actually have quite a few folks on staff. The VDOT Stanton district, which is the district that I work for, we cover 11 counties, and we have our main equipment repair shop right here in Stanton, but we also have smaller shops in Harrisonburg and Allegheny County and just outside Winchester as well. The folks that we have that work in our shops during emergency snow operations, or it doesn't even have to be snow, it could be, say, a tropical system that comes through. But in any case, if we have equipment that goes down on the side of the road, they're actually dispatched out there and they will do what they can to get it moving again so they can get it back to the shop. So it's a tough job for those folks as well because they're out there in the elements, sometimes underneath a dump truck trying to get it going again so that we can get it safely back to the shop. So yeah, it's a whole stable full of folks that really work in our shops and sometimes on the side of the road to keep that equipment moving.
One of the things that I had not considered before, I was telling you before we started recording that I've been taking this Civic Leadership Academy with the city of Winchester. And this past week was the public facing side of the services that the city offers. And it didn't occur to me that some of those pieces of equipment, like your snow plows or the things that you attach to the vehicles, also have to be checked out and they have to be in good mechanical shape. So you almost have to have somebody not only that can work on an engine or transmission or brake lines, but that also knows how hydraulics work and how these pieces work on a vehicle they've been attached to.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been out there a few times over the years watching these dry run inspections that we were talking about, and inspectors will have the operators lift up the plows, turn them back and forth, make sure that they're in full operation for that. Same thing with the spreaders. You mentioned hydraulics, also a lot of electronic equipment. Now, our former district equipment manager told me if I could put you up in the cab of one of our newer dump trucks, you wouldn't even get that thing started. There's so many electronic components to it, a lot of things that are done by automation that most of us that are used to putting a key in or even just pushing a button on the dash to start the vehicle will probably have a hard time with it. Those pieces of equipment can be really complicated. We have electric spreaders that are mounted on the back of our dump trucks to spread the salt and do the pre-treatment as they're going down the roadway. So there's a lot more to it than I think a lot of folks would even scarcely realize.
And it's important to remember that they're not used all year round either. So they're sitting for a good piece of the year until you need to start doing those dry runs and getting them ready to use.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a smaller dry run in the springtime when we're pretty confident that we have gotten to the end of winter season. I'm already looking forward to that. And they do some inspections then because there is a lot of wear and tear, especially during a tough winter. So we do take care of any issues then. But certainly from spring to fall, there's not a whole lot of activity for the plows and the spreaders and some of that specific equipment for the wintertime.
And these are not inexpensive pieces of equipment either. I was shocked to learn just how much some of these trucks cost.
Yeah, I can't rattle off price tags for you, but rest assured, we're buying heavy duty stuff because we expect it to last many miles and many years. And it certainly is not cheap, but have a lot of agreements. We work with different vendors. Sometimes you'll see a lot of our dump trucks made by international, a lot of our equipment. You'll recognize some of the nameplates out there. I'm not trying to do brand dropping like you see in some movies or anything like that, but it's equipment that you recognize and that these are really solid performers that have proven themselves over the years. And when you need them, you need them. Folks expect that equipment to be ready to go no matter what the conditions are like.
Do your drivers have to have a special license? Like my husband has a CDL license. Do you have to have a certain certification for your driver's license in order to run one of those vehicles?
Yes, the CDL is required commercial driver's license for those who aren't familiar with it. We have plenty of acronyms and abbreviations around here, and that might be one of the most common ones, but not every VDOT employee has a CDL. I certainly don't because I don't need one. Maybe someday, but we do have some of our operators when they first come in don't have that CDL yet, and we will work with them to make sure they get it within a certain period of time as a condition of employment. But everybody who's out there pushing snow in a truck that has a VDOT emblem on the side of it definitely has a CDL.
You do not want to get your CDL because I'm telling you, at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, they're going to call you if they know you have
Well,
one. So you're better off not to have it.
that's actually a good point because we have a lot of folks whose normal jobs have nothing to do with operating that equipment on a daily basis. We have folks that are on our survey crews or they're on our bridge maintenance crews and things like that that are doing other types of jobs most of the year. But VDOT is an all hands on deck operation whenever it snows. And sometimes folks that have office jobs in our business office or work in environmental, they may actually maybe reporting to one of our area headquarters, not necessarily being put behind the wheel of a truck, but maybe working the phones as conditions are coming in and they're helping update the conditions in our system that eventually update the 511 website as well. So there's all kinds of different operations. But when we have a serious winter storm in the forecast, pretty much everybody who works at VDOT is going to be involved in it somehow. I'm just happy that it's pretty much the same as my normal job, communications.
You just got to make sure everybody knows about it.
Yes, as best we can.
On that note, talking about winter storms, let's take a break. And when we come back, let's talk about the weather aspect of it because you've also got to keep an eye on that. You've got to know when something may or may not be coming down the pike. So, can we get into the weather portion of it in the next segment?
I promise no forecasting on my part, but yeah, we're happy to talk about what we do to try to prepare in that way.
We are on the Zooms today with Ken Slack. He is a communication specialist with VDOT. This is our annual snow show. I keep saying it because the look on Ken's face is priceless every time I say it, and nobody gets to see this but me. We're going to come back and talk more with him in just a couple of minutes.
Okay. I don't think Janet knows I'm recording this. She just stepped away to get another cup of coffee, so here's my chance. Hey everyone, it's Andy from the United Way of the Northern Shenandoah Valley. And yes, Janet, if you're hearing this, surprise, we're still celebrating the Valley Today's 2500th episode and this awesome community fundraiser you came up with. Here's the deal. Between now and the end of the year, it's Janet's goal to raise $2,500 to support the great work of the nonprofits in this community. If you give just $25 or more, you're going to be entered into a chance to be a guest on the show with Janet. If you give $250 or more, we'll make you a commercial just like this one that will air on the Valley Today podcast. So go to givebutter.com/the Valley Today right now before Janet realizes that I've hijacked her airtime. She's walking back in, cup of coffee in hand, gotta go. Remember to donate between now and the end of the year and support the great work of so many nonprofits and celebrate 2,500 episodes of the Valley Today.
Welcome back to the Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. It is the VDOT Snow Show, so I am on the Zooms with Ken Slack. He is their communications specialist for the Stanton District, which is what we're all in. Almost everybody listening on the radio today, Ken, is part of the Stanton District, right?
Probably so. The northern part of our district includes Warren County, Clark, Frederick, Shenandoah. Now, once you go east, say you're east on 66, so you're getting into either the Northern Virginia district or the Culpeper district, but we pretty much have the entire Shenandoah Valley and Allegheny Highlands. So 11 counties that we cover and have 150 miles of beautiful Interstate 81, which keeps us busy.
No doubt. With snow or no snow, you're busy with the interstates more than anything else.
That is true. And we often get the questions, when are the trucks going to be here? What are your priorities? And the priorities have to be the interstates and the key primary roads first. We've got to keep commerce moving. We've got to be able to ensure that fire, rescue, and things like that can get where they need to go. When we're in the thick of a heavy storm, the plow operators that are, say, working a section of I-81 might be going back and forth, northbound, southbound, left lane, right lane, and they may never get off that 30-mile section until the snow starts to taper off and we feel like we're starting to get over the hump, and then we can start moving on to some of the other roadways. But interstates first, then those key primary routes that have like hospitals, fire, rescue, schools, really the critical infrastructure really needs to be out there.
We were talking in the last segment about winter weather and storms that just sometimes come out of nowhere and some that are forecasted out for several weeks. How do you guys figure that out? Do you have a meteorologist on staff? Do you have people from the National Weather Service that you consult with? How do you get your arms around just trying to understand what kind of winter we're going to have?
It's an all of the above approach. We do have a close relationship with the National Weather Service. Our district that's actually served by two different districts or forecasting offices. The northern half of our district is within the Sterling or Baltimore, Washington, I think they call it. So we watch and work with the National Weather Service at a Sterling office for the central and northern part of the valley, the southern part of the valley and Allegheny Highlands. Their forecast office is actually out of Blacksburg. So we're watching both of those forecasts. Those folks are on our speed dial for sure. We also, VDOT does have a contractor, a consultant that does forecasting for us as well. And one of the key things that they look at are ground temperatures. As you might guess, ground temperatures, pavement temperatures are very important to us because that really has a key role in what the driving surface is going to be like. If you've been in this part of Virginia for long, you know that a degree or two can make a huge difference. One county away, it could be snowing, could be raining where you are, it could be freezing rain where you are. We really reach a lot of different sources and resources to keep an eye on those conditions, the forecast, and as a storm evolves, because that also really helps us plan how we attack it. If we know it's going to be snow, then the plows are ready. We're always going to have the plows and the salt spreaders pretty much with every storm, but it tells us whether pre-treating the roadways would even be helpful. If it's going to start out as rain, as it often does, and then switches over to snow, we may not get a chance to pre-treat because the rain would just wash it right off. And there are certain types of winter weather systems, what we call chemical storms, because there's not a whole lot of plowing going on. It's freezing rain and sleet. And so we're really focusing on getting the salts down to try to keep that road surface from glazing over with that deadly black ice that we sometimes talk about. So there's a whole lot of forecasting, a whole lot of science, and even some good local knowledge. We've got our area headquarters superintendents, supervisors, and the staff that are generally one or two per county that we have stationed all over our 11 county region. And they know where the cold spots are. They know the particular roads that almost never seem to get sunlight on them and that sort of thing. So that local knowledge plays into it as well.
And that's really important given on how large the Stanton district is, because we here in Winchester, and I see it all the time when they're doing the news for DC, and it's going to be this. And then you actually look at the radar and it's below us or it's further north than we are. Even just in the Shenandoah Valley, Page could get hammered and we could get nothing but rain. So you not only have to know what the overall forecast is, you got to be able to pivot to the actual locations that are going to get something.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a lot of mountainous elevations, and unfortunately, some of those have some really highly traveled roadways on them. We keep a really close eye on Interstate 64 going over Afton Mountain between the Stanton Waynesboro area and Charlottesville. It's a heavy commuter route for I-64 and 250. Going a little further north between the Harrisonburg area and just over the hill, a lot of folks commute from that Harrisonburg-Elkton area over the mountain into Albemarle and Charlottesville, use Route 33. A lot of folks also use Route 211 going over the mountains between Luray and into Rappahannock County, and even have some pretty significant issues sometimes in the Mount Weather area in Clark County. So elevation makes a big difference. And there are even some parts of our district that get a little bit of those lake effect snows that come across West Virginia and sometimes hit our western ridges. Everybody talks about Highland County. That's one of our 11 counties, and it's nicknamed Virginia's Switzerland for good reason. They generally see their first snow in October, and there's usually still some snow that's in the forecast through the month of April. So they have a longer winter season than a lot of folks, but other areas of our district also see some of those western snows as well.
I want to go back to what you were talking about a second ago, which is the actual treatment. So much like people who watch the Weather Channel on the regular, when they find out that Jim Cantori is coming to their town, they know it's time to buckle up or evacuate.
Yes.
I look for the brine on the road. That's how I decide, okay, they are treating the roads. It is time to convert all of my in-person whatevers to Zoom whatevers. But like you said, so many times I think people are like, they're calling for snow and VDOT's not treating the road. I don't think people understand that if it is starting off as rain, that brine is going to be useless.
If it's going to start out as rain, generally the pre-treating would wash off. It is literally just salt water, and it needs to dry. And that's why we generally are putting it down 24 to 36 hours before a storm is in the forecast. If it's going to start as snow, or if we're relatively certain that it's going to quickly change over to say sleet or snow, then we can go ahead and pre-treat. But Stanton may handle things differently in different parts of the district. We're all doing the same thing, trying to really be wise with the resources we have, because we don't want to put that stuff on the roads if we know it's going to just run off and not be effective at all. But we also want to make sure that we are on guard, and if there is a good chance that it's going to be helpful and necessary, then we will put it down. And we try to give folks a heads up when we're putting those white stripes, as you recognize them, and a lot of folks over the past several years have gotten used to seeing them. When you see those stripes on the roadway, something's coming.
Yeah, it's time to get to the grocery store and then get home.
Oh, you're one of those people.
Hey, I gotta have my Oreos. I can't be trapped in my house without my double stuffed Oreos.
We prepare all year long for winter, like I was telling you earlier, so you can be stocking up on those Oreos in the summertime and just keep them in a nice, cool, dry place for wintertime.
Yeah, that implies I'm not just going to continuously eat them. Thank you for giving me that much credit. Do you guys make the brine yourself? Do you have a giant blender or a giant mixing machine?
Actually, yes. You probably thought I was going to say, no, it's not like that, but it actually is. The same road salt that comes in granular form into these large tanks, and they have agitators. It's fun to watch. We have these brine or anti-icing stations scattered at various places along the district. We don't have as many of those as we have salt barns, but we do have some places where VDOT and especially contractor trucks come and they fill up their tanks, where they mix it up right there on the VDOT area headquarters lot.
How do you decide when? So we talked about the brine. How do you know when salt is appropriate or gravel is appropriate? Or is it both? And I just don't realize that it's all down when I'm out.
Well, it's quite often that we'll mix in some abrasives, what we call them. It's smaller than what most people think of as gravel, like you'd have on your driveway or something like that. It's smaller than pea gravel. It's more of a gritty type gravel. There's a technical term for it that I won't even try to conjure up here, but it is mixed in with the salt to help improve traction. And you didn't mention in the question, but there are times when salt's not particularly effective, and that's when we have extreme cold. Almost all of the treating that we do before and during a winter storm is done with just traditional salt. But once you get down into the low 20s, you get some of these where it's going to go down into the teens at night, the salt has reduced effectiveness. And that's why we mix in some of the abrasives. And we can even go to other things like calcium chloride and things. They're all natural chemicals, but they're a little more effective than salt. We don't have as much of them and they are more expensive. So we reserve them for when we need them. But most of the time, our cold nights around here generally aren't getting much below the 20s. Occasionally, yes, we do see those really cold snaps, but thankfully those are often the dry nights as well.
And we joked about this a minute ago, staying home. Not everybody can do it. Many a time in my husband's previous job where he had to go to work because the bosses said you have to come in. And while some of us find that annoying, you got to do what the bosses say. But if you have the ability to stay home, it really does help you and help everybody get back on the road faster and safer if we do just stay in and do a Zoom call or work from home for the day.
Certainly not everybody can do that. Some folks don't have the kind of job like yours that allows you to do that when necessary. But we do ask folks to stay off the roads, give us a chance to do our jobs. It's for your safety first and foremost, but it's also for our safety as well. And it's more efficient. It's a lot easier to plow a road that doesn't have any vehicles on it than trying to maneuver around them, especially if they skid off and they're up against the shoulder or something. If we can get out there and have the roads to ourselves in the early part of the storm, it can make a big difference in how quickly and effectively we can make the road safe for you. But if you do have to drive, and we certainly recognize that some folks are required to go to work. My daughter's a barista, and a lot of folks that work in service industries, they don't have a choice. Boss says you better be there. And so probably the biggest piece of advice I could give would be to leave really early so that you don't feel rushed, that you can keep your speed way down, and also just give a lot of space between you and everything else around you, between you and other vehicles, because your stopping distances are going to be longer, and drive gently. Don't make any sudden movements with the brake or with the steering. Just take it easy out there. It's easier, I think, sometimes in the snow because you have that visual cue. When you see
Mhm.
snow falling from the sky or when you see it piling up on the ground in front of you, I think it tells your brain, I need to slow down. But sometimes with some of the kinds of precip we get around here, freezing rain is the absolute worst. It's the slickest thing. It's what gives us that black ice that it doesn't matter whether you have four-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, you're going to struggle through that. But it also just looks wet. And it's hard to know whether you're looking at just wet pavement or if it's icy. So if in doubt, assume it's icy.
I used to have an old Volvo, a 1992 Volvo, and the thing one, and I love that
Probably
car.
built like a
Absolutely.
tank, wasn't
It
it?
was a tank. It absolutely was. And one of the things that I loved about it was in the dash, it told me the road temperature.
The
So when
road temperature,
I
not just the
yeah,
air temperature. Nice.
it would tell me the actual road temperature because it was fancy. It was a Volvo.
And that is something that a lot of our vehicles have those on it, displays, and every once in a while I get to borrow one of these vehicles when I'm going somewhere around the district. It'll show the air temperature and the road temperature right next to each other, and sometimes it's vastly different. And it's kind of interesting to watch. You go into a shady area or something like that, how much that temperature drops. It's more than you'd think. But also, folks who haven't used our 511 system has a lot more than just maps showing the relative speed of vehicles and the cameras. I think some folks are familiar with the cameras that are up, especially up and down the interstates and some of our primary roads. But you also have different weather features on 511virginia.org. There's the plug, and on the mobile app as well, that show pavement temperatures at some key locations. So you can get an idea of what the ground temperature, pavement temperature is like, not just where you are, but along the route that you're planning on travel. So it's a great resource. We really advise folks that do have to travel in inclement weather that they take advantage of that before they hit the road.
It's a good app to have year round. If you want to know about traffic, if you want to know about road closures, if there's construction somewhere, it is ideal to have that app or check that website before you leave the house any time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's essential in the wintertime. And even a lot of our folks, as they're gearing up for the winter weather, battling the snow, they'll watch those traffic cameras up and down the corridor as they're watching that storm come in, and they know when to send their folks out because, okay, I know it just hit Mount Jackson. We better get out there because it's coming here next, that sort of thing.
Thank you for taking the time to give me all of the scoop or the shovel on the snow. Yeah, that was terrible.
And make sure you lift your legs, not your back.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. I am going to be the one that says, oh, I'm sorry, I can't meet you because Ken Slack said I have to stay home. I'm going to use your name.
I actually have gotten those kinds of phone calls before, but that's between you and your boss. Don't put that on me.
Well, thank you for all of the information today. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely glad to help.
I will be back tomorrow with a brand new episode of The Valley Today, a few minutes after noon, so meet me here then.